Good morning. It's a windy one today. It's supposed to be a little warmer, high 50s, but it's windy this morning. We're gonna go start shelling some corn. I think it might just be Phil and I today for at least a while. So fill the trucks, fill the cart, and come and empty them kind of day. That's all right. We're gonna go ahead and get started here. I'm gonna jump in the combine. Phil's gonna run grain cart. We're gonna fill the two trucks and the cart, and then we'll go unload stuff. I thought Brock was gonna be here today, but he's working his other job today. He said he'd be here tomorrow, so that's fine. And I texted my father-in-law to see if he could come up. I don't know. He hasn't responded, so I think he might have had something going on today, or at least this morning. Finishing up the last little bit of endrows on this field here along the road. We just got these long ones to go. So we've got that corn and more corn that way and more corn that way to do after this. So we'll be in this area all day. We'll finish this field and then jump over here. Well, there's some places out here where the corn is really good, and there's other places where it's not. Highly variable, like we've seen on a lot of our less productive fields this year. We have some really, really good spots and some not so good spots. So if you look at our map up there, you can see lots of coloration on it. Good spot of the field right in there. This spot is actually a really good spot of the field, but it got so wet this spring that we drowned it out and we got that red spot there. Otherwise that would have been solid green through there, but that's okay. It is probably going to drop off over here as we get closer to those trees. This side of this field isn't usually quite as good, but overall we're over 200 average and we'll take it. I think our trucks are full, and this is not going to totally fill the grain cart, but get us close enough. Time to go empty the trucks. Okay, we are just about done here. I found something really interesting I thought you guys might like, or at least think is interesting as well. See the tops of these corn plants, how they're really leafy here? And they got all that extra material up there? That is called crazy top. And it's kind of a genetic mutation that happens when dirt gets in the whorl of the plant when it is small. Notice the big drowned out spot here. We're in a low spot next to a retention, or like a dike here to keep the water from washing. There's a standpipe right somewhere. Maybe it was up in the weeds over there. Yeah, it's over there in the weeds. And so when we had one of our big spring rains, that whole area filled up with water, and the corn was up, and it got over the top of it, got dirt and mud inside some of the corn. The water got off quick enough that corn didn't die, except for in the bottom of it there, but it caused it to not grow correctly. There you can see some more of it. Crazy top. Crazy. Well, we are unloading trucks here. We're using our top dry. I don't have the dryer, the grain handler started up today. We're just trying to fill it. So we're running some batches through the top dry, letting that dry some grain out, and then we'll get that bin full. Big old fan inverter. It's out. Blowing the hot air up there. 1,500 bushels of corn on the top, and it's drying out. Generator's 178 degrees. That's good. Working good since we cleaned out that radiator. All right, the trucks are empty. The grain cart is empty. Get back in the combine. So Steve is going to come up, but he had some stuff going on this morning. So it might be 1 or 2 o'clock before he gets here. So hopefully we can get this field finished and get the end rows done on the next one before that. Chasing the deer out. Well, we're going to get this field done. We got just one more pass to make right along the edge there. Our cart is just about full, but I can do it and put a little bit in there so we've got a full truckload, or just leave it on the combine. We'll go empty our trucks and come back. It is also lunchtime, so we'll grab some lunch. Some corn plants aren't worth getting. like those ones there that don't have ears on them, but I would have to destroy that top of my combine with that branch hanging down into the field. So since it was the last pass of the field, I just drove down to the other end, and we'll come at it from the other way until we get back to that tree. It's a big old oak tree that needs to be trimmed. And it needs to be trimmed right there, about a foot above the ground level over there. That's where it needs trimmed at. Those branches are tall. They're way up the stem. It's not like you could get them down low. Okay, we got that one done. What a deal. That was a big chunk done. So Steve just called me. He's around, so he can jump in the combine after we're done. I might help him open the end rows up, or I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, we got to get the trucks and the grain cart empty. Grab something to eat real quick, and then we'll get going. We can still have a good afternoon here. We should get a lot done. All right, we're getting the trucks emptied. Had an aeration fan kick out on us on that bin. Now that bin has been filled for over a week now. The fan's been running. We were going to shut it off anyway, so it's not the end of the world that fan kicked out, but we're going to have to get it fixed here rather soon. So I'm going to go grab a sandwich real quick, and then we're going to get the truck moved and go combine. Brought some more fuel over. Our boss. We're right there from the farm. I mean, we're really close, right? But it's just easier to bring the fuel trailer over here. So got that fuel done. Next up is this one right here. We probably won't finish today, but should get reasonably close. And then we'll jump across the road and do all of that over there. So I didn't realize it, but I looked at the map, and this is all the same hybrid as what that was. So it should all be fairly consistent. Let's get back to it. We should knock out some acres here this afternoon. Have a good day. It's possible we could get this done. We did about that much from this point yesterday. It was 1 o'clock when we got started. And we did 65 acres yesterday, and there's 60 in this field. So it's probably 130 now. 145. So I don't know. We'll see how we do. All right, we're off. The wheat looks good. That was the last planted field of wheat. And it's coming. It looks pretty good. You can see our big wet spot that we planted around. There's another one up there. They're dry now. We can go through them now. Well, it's another smooth sailing afternoon here so far. Knock on wood. There's no wood in these tractors, so that's going to be hard to do. But anyway, let's see. What are we at here? 20 acres in. 41 to go in this field. 190 average and climbing. You guys ready for another topic of discussion for the day? We're going to get a little controversial today. Let's talk about solar panels, renewable energy in general, and farmland, and what my thoughts are on this. We've touched on this before, but somebody asked about it as a topic to talk about in that video when I asked, so let's do it. Sun's getting me here. That's a little better. So, solar panels on farm ground. Now, I know a lot of people strongly disagree with putting solar panels on farm ground, and I understand that. I understand that from several different perspectives and kind of agree with it on several different perspectives, right? So, basically, we're at a point in this country where we have decided, and by we, I mean collectively as society or certain politicians or somehow or another, we've come to the idea that we need to produce energy more renewably than coal-fired plants or natural gas or even nuclear for that matter. And so we turned to wind power for a long time. We're still doing wind, but the new bigger push has been solar panel. And as technology has progressed and solar panels have gotten better, it's gotten more efficient. And so now we start to see these huge mega solar farms moving into areas where has typically been farmland. There are several in our area. There is a big one about 5 or 6 miles, 7 or 8 miles from here to the southeast near Fayette, Ohio, that I believe is around 2,500 acres. There's another big one that just went in about 15 miles south and west of us of 500 or 600 acres. There's some going into the north up in Michigan here. And they're talked about all the time. We get letters frequently from solar companies or electric companies about potentially putting solar panels on some of our farmland. Now, obviously, if we have solar panels on it, we can't farm it anymore, right? And, well, that's a problem for us because we are in the business of raising crops, corn, soybeans, and wheat. And so we need that ground to be able to farm, not harvest solar power. However, here's the thing. On a very good year farming, on a very good year, on owned ground, let's say, farm that we have owned, bought, paid for, we might make $150, $200 a year in net profit, maybe. These solar companies are offering solar leases starting in the $1,200 to $1,300 an acre range, and they go up from there annually. And so as a landowner, especially a non-farming landowner, it's very attractive to look at that and say, well, the farmer that I rent to is paying me $208 an acre or even $300 an acre, and the solar company will pay me $1,200 an acre or $1,500 an acre. Like, it's a no-brainer, right? You sign it up for solar panels. Now, that obviously takes it out of production, and you can no longer farm it, at least for the length of that lease. There is people out there and that will make the argument that once solar panels are on the ground, it destroys that land. I don't know that I believe that. None of the solar fields around here are putting much in for concrete, right? They just drive posts into the ground. And so there's no reason, in my opinion, that those posts cannot be removed and that ground farmed again at the end of a 20-year lease or a 40-year lease. Now, they are going to destroy any tile that may be in the field. But if you get paid $1,500 to $2,000 a year, you could probably afford to retile the farm after 20 years, right? I've also heard that the solar panels will leach toxic chemicals or heavy metals into the ground. If that is the case, there should not be a solar panel on any piece of ground anywhere in the country. I don't know that I believe that they are doing that, but yeah, that would destroy the ground and would be a bigger environmental hazard than the panels are meant to save the environment, right? So that is totally unacceptable if that is happening. Now, before we get into that, the decision for each individual landowner and stuff, let's just, solar in general, let's talk about that. One, like, it's fine. I have no problems with solar panels in general. However, they need to stand on their own. There should be no government subsidies to the solar companies, to put in solar power anywhere, frankly, especially mega solar farms on farm ground. Like, it's either good business practice and it makes sense, or it doesn't, and it shouldn't be done, in my opinion. And so, you know, if a electric company or whoever is putting in these solar panels can afford to pay the landowner what it takes to lease the ground, they can install the panels and still make a return on their investment, fine. I could care less about the environmental benefits of solar. I don't think that it is all that much better or more efficient. You know, corn plants take an awful lot of CO2 out of the atmosphere, and when you replace 2,500 acres of solar panels, of cornfields with solar panels, well, that has negative environmental impacts. And I get that you're no longer burning some coal or something, but personally, I think we should move more towards a nuclear electrical system, but that's beside the point. So no subsidies and stuff, but if it makes sense and it works, great. Now, I am not in favor of raising electrical costs, and so paying more for electricity because we are producing more with solar and wind and other stuff isn't my idea of a great thing to do either, right? And so I struggle with that a little bit, and in general, I don't know if solar is the answer. I can also see how, as a young farmer who is struggling to find enough ground to feel like they can farm and live comfortably off of that farm and make it a full-time job, watching an older farmer or a landlord retire and put solar panels on their farms or whatever instead of renting it out to you or to somebody else to farm can be extremely frustrating. Like, that's hard. When you're struggling to find a land base and the land that is there is no longer being farmed, man, that's frustrating. I get that. Fortunately, I'm not really in that situation. We're not in a big expansion mode where I need to find more ground, and so I don't feel that pressure like some other people do, but I certainly understand where they're coming from on that side of it. So, that said, that landlord owns that ground, or landowner, whatever you want to call it. And I am a very firm believer in personal property rights to the point where if you do not own it, you do not control it. And I, as a small farmer or as a new farmer or whatever, have no right to tell some guy that's been doing it for 40 or 50 years down the road who I think should rent his farm to me that he should rent his farm to me for $200 an acre per year instead of $1,500 an acre to the solar company for the next 20 years where he doesn't have to worry about it. They can do what they want. If you own it, you can do what you want with that ground. And if that means putting solar panels on it, good for you. Go for it. Now, would I ever sign a farm up and take ground out of production that we are farming for solar panels? Yeah. I want to say no. I really want to say no. We would never do that. But I don't know if I can actually say that. There are certain farms that I would say it would be extremely difficult for me to let that happen. There are other farms that are maybe a little bit farther away, maybe less productive, that I would say, yeah, $1,500 an acre with a 2 or 3% cost of living upgrade every year for 20 years sounds pretty darn good. Let's do that. Can I say that we would actually do it? No. But can I say that I would never do it? I can't say that either. Wind is a little bit different with the windmills because they take up so much less footprint than solar panels. We have some farms that if they wanted to put a windmill up on them, I would probably let them. Now, windmills don't pay nearly as well as the solar panels do, but again, they don't take up as much land and you can still farm around them. So, from afar, I think they're cool. I think they're neat to look at. If it was in my backyard, would I feel that way? I don't know. But again, if you don't control, you don't own the land, you don't control it, you don't get a say. Personally, that's how I feel. What else? There was another point I was going to make on the solar side of stuff. Oh, yeah. I have heard a lot about, people say that you can farm and do solar panels and stuff. And, well, that's just, quite frankly, not true. It is possible maybe to graze some sheep or something or some goats underneath the panels. But think about what a plant is, Like, what are we doing with soybeans? Well, we're trying to capture sunlight. We're turning sunlight into soybeans. And so when you put a solar panel out there that's going to capture all of the sunlight, you no longer have that sunlight hitting the ground where it can raise plants effectively. I mean, there's still going to be some stuff that grows, but not nearly as well. And so the idea that we can graze grass underneath the solar panels and be just as efficient as if it was no solar panels on it is totally false. That isn't going to work. I know they do that in some places, raise some sheep, but your density per acre is far less than what you would do if the solar panels were there. It's not the same. You can't replace solar activity and being able to capture sunlight if you're going to take it for solar power rather than grazing plants. I know that a lot of people do not share my opinion on putting solar panels on farm ground, and let me be clear on that, right? Like, I don't think it's a great idea. I don't think solar is the answer. However, I'm not going to tell somebody else what to do with their ground. And if a solar company wants to pay somebody an absurd amount of money to put solar panels on their ground and they want to take it, good for them. That's my stance on it. I do, however, think that we should be looking for alternative places. Like, you want to put solar panels on the roof of your house or your shop or your barn or whatever, fantastic. That's a good spot for it. I think all parking lots should be covered in solar panels, or at least in major cities and areas where there's high density of parking lots. Michigan State, where I went to college, all of the parking lots, I don't know about all the parking lots, a lot of the parking lots up there are covered in solar panels now. gives something for the cars to park under so they can have some shelter, and produces power on otherwise unproductive land. So I do like that aspect. I think that's where they should go. I think that is a great idea. But there's just not as much land. The fact of the matter is there's not enough land mass and area in parking lots compared to farmland. And so solar panels, they're more expensive and harder to put in those areas than they are to, say, turn this field into a solar farm. I also think that, there's a lot of non-productive ground that could be into solar panels really easily, like in the desert, in the south, or southwest, in just the west in general. That would be more suited for it. So, on the flip side of that, corn and bean price is pretty cheap. Taking some acres out of production wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for us. Raise a little less corn, a little less soybeans, a little more solar panels, a few less acres of each of those, a couple million acres off of each crop. Wouldn't be the worst thing for our grain markets, It would not be the worst thing. Like everything, a lot of people are going to have the, yeah, it's great, we should do that, but not in my backyard attitude. Windmills are great, just don't put them in my backyard. Solar panels are great, just don't put them in my backyard. I want to eat meat, steak, have some dairy, some ice cream, chicken, just don't put the farms in my backyard, right? We've heard it over and over in agriculture for years and years and years. And so, that's my thoughts and opinions on it. Feel free to share yours down below. I'm sure I missed some points, left some stuff out, but you get the gist, right? I might have to break down and wash the back window again. It's to that point, and the sun's getting low to the point where we can't see very good. So I should have Steve go over to the other. We should be all right. I was gonna say we should do the rest of the end rows in this field before it gets dark. So this is a triangular shaped field, kind of. We're almost up to the house lot here. Once we get to that, we can do some end rows and then go along the road. But there's some electric poles over there that we got to work around. Speaking of electric companies, there's some Consumers Energy trucks over there. I wonder why. Probably waiting for me to rip this electric line down that I keep driving under with the grain cart. But I am making sure to get all the way under it before we fold our auger. It's pretty high. I don't think we would hit it even if I was. But when this auger on this grain cart is folding, it goes pretty far up in the air here. And the last thing I want to do is catch a power line with this auger going straight up over the top of the cart here, right? Yeah. It would fold underneath them there, but there's places that gets way up there. Get that sun setting down there. We're right behind the auger on the combine right now, so that's nice, but sure makes it look like it's snowing with all this red dog blowing around in the air. Heavy or strong west wind today, so it's blowing from behind us pretty hard. We've made it about up to this house lot here, and we've got the road runs on an angle. It forms that triangle, so we got some weird triangular point rows here. I'm gonna just jump in the combine with him real quick. He's capable, but I just want to help sort of be like, here's how I would handle this a little bit, Trying to get these end rows along the road here done before it gets super dark. Still a little bit of light out here yet. We just got one more round to make on these ends. Get them out of the way. There's some electric poles in the point of this field that are a pain to do in the dark. Well, they're a pain to do anytime, but especially in the dark with a new combine operator. All right, I jumped out of the tractor. We're gonna let Phil run cart for a little bit. I have parent-teacher conferences at school tonight, and time to go. I didn't forget, but I almost forgot what time, so we're gonna head back to the farm and go and do that. Just got back from conferences, figured I'd go and see what's going on out here. They must have filled the trucks and the cart and got everything done. I'm sure we're done for the night. It's 8 o'clock, so we had a good day. All right, that's it for today. thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'm sure there's lots of comments on my solar panel discussion. But yeah, Brock is coming tomorrow, he said, so I'll get some combine time, more combine time tomorrow, and we'll make a big dent, finish that field, and the one across the road, hopefully, and we'll see where we're at after that. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video. See you guys.